If you just put your mind to it and get out of your own way, you can make anything you want come true.
I just try to do what I can with what I have and try to write surrounding that.
I'm a cinematographer first and a writer second, and I have to really balance myself on that, you know, not just make everything, oh, it just looks pretty. No, there's got to be like actual story there too.
I believe that films are powerful when they're able to touch the soul. And I believe that every single one of the films we watched tonight did that in such a powerful way.
So this is a Nader, and this is what he's written. I'm reading on his behalf. Since we are at the Brave Maker Festival, I want to be brave and say these 3 words in the microphone with my own voice.
The Brave Maker community to me is family. It's all of us. We're all telling stories and standing up for something.
I want to create space for filmmakers, for audiences, and for connection. And I do it because if I don't, who will?
We all make films because we want to tell stories that inspire and that connect. And Brave Maker gives you that opportunity to actually be with your actual audience and be able to see their reactions and react with them.
Brave Maker Festival is one of a kind. Everyone who comes to Brave Maker really cares about their craft, their background, their stories. Everyone has something to share, and definitely Brave Maker is a community where people are connected.
Everyone's just been so welcoming and so genuine. It's just so nice to be in this community, and everyone's just working really hard at what they're passionate about.
Tony has done just an amazing job with organizing this film festival, done a lot of panels and experienced a lot of great films. It's been a great experience.
Everything he does is to elevate important topics, important voices, inclusion. Now he has people here doing sign language. So to me, being a Brave Maker is impact, inclusion. I love what Brave Maker is about.
It's about working within the box. What are the parameters? So it's knowing who you are, what you can do, what you can pull off, and using those resources to the best of your advantage.
We can see all around us the reason why Brave Maker needs to exist, so that we can celebrate Bay Area filmmakers and Bay Area stories.
I just appreciate festivals like this that allow for us Bay Area filmmakers to showcase our work and to be appreciated by, homegrown audience.
So I am asking everyone to make sure that we continue festivals like this and donate to this brother that is making change happen.
Jessica Musgrave! And I know that if I can benefit from it, if I can feel celebrated for my storytelling, then other people will too, because I'm trying to create and make space for people to be brave, because I need it, and I know the world needs it too.
I am a Brave Maker.
I am a Brave Maker.
I'm a Brave Maker.
We are Brave Makers.
hosted by Tony Gapperstone. Thanks for tuning in. It's showtime.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 283 of the Brave Maker podcast. My name is Tony Gapperstone. I am a writer, director, and actor. I am recording this live in Redwood City, California at our Brave Maker studio. We love to have conversations with creators of all kinds. Make sure you're following us on all the places at bravemaker.org, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, you know the places. If you like these things, these conversations that we are bringing to you, share them with people because we're offering all of these things as free education and professional development for filmmakers, for actors, for artists of all kinds. I am found at all the places on social media at my name, Tony Gapperstone. If you want to reach out to me, I am available. I love to help and to partner with people who are bringing stories to life. You can find me at tonygap.com and look at all of my films. I have a feature film under my belt called Last Chance Charlene, and we're currently casting for our film called 33 Days Now, which will be in production before summer. Very exciting things happening here at Brave Maker. But I just got back from Sundance now a little over a week, 10 days ago. I made it through without getting super sick. A lot of my friends came back with colds and things like that. I had a little bit of a cough. It does help to pound vitamin C and Zicam and all that kind of stuff. I truly believe that. But I met a filmmaker while I was there who produced a feature film, has been involved in Sundance, has a lot of things going on in the film world, and you get to meet him today. His name is Ramfis Myrthil. Welcome, Ramfis. Up. And Ramfis might be frozen in a very solid and strong position here. So let's see if he will come back to us. Is he back? Is he back? He's still frozen a little bit. I heard something while he's figuring it out. Maybe, is it me? Am I frozen? I do not know. But Ramfis is frozen with his cool red and blue hair. Looks like he's back. Are you back? Yes, he's here.
I'm here. I'm here.
Okay, Ramfis.
Now we're rocking and rolling. Sweet.
Right out, Ramfis. We like to do a quick physical and inclusive description. So I'll go first. I am a Caucasian guy with black glasses and brown hair, wearing a yellow shirt that says Holy Cannoli on it today. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I'm in a studio that has the word Brave Maker in pink with some pink lights behind me and a faux green wall. What about you, Ramfis?
Okay, well, I am a Haitian American young man with half red hair and half blue hair because I'm from Haiti, so representing the colors.
Nice.
And the rest of my hair is black. I have a black curly beard with a nose piercing on the left nostril of my nose. And I have dark brown eyes, small ears. I am wearing a black t-shirt that says Ramfis Productions.
Okay.
Hard to see it, but in blue. And my pronouns are he, him, his, and I'm happy to be here with a blurry background.
And I've never said my piercing before, so I have a piercing on my right nostril. I love that, right? Look at these details. You're like small ears, curly. I'm like, wow, you are really doing it. That's great. I need to be super specific too with my physical descriptions. Well, Ramfis, tell the people we're live on Instagram and all the places right now. Congratulations on having a feature film at Sundance. It's a pretty big deal. You produced Ricky. Tell us about the journey. First of all, how did you even get into filmmaking? What's your origin story?
Yeah, I mean, I started actually street racing in New York, and my ex, business partner was heavily into that world. He was also acting. He was training with Michael Imperioli from The Sopranos. He got cast in this movie, and he told me to come read for a role. And I'm like,
what movie?
I don't remember the movie. This is like
okay.
2005,
Okay.
So I'm like, dude, like I didn't go to Juilliard. I don't have any headshots. And, I just went in with a Polaroid, and I improvised a scene and I got a call back. I'm like, okay, yeah, beginner's luck. And then I got another call back and I'm like, all right, beginner's luck still. And after the third call back, I took it for real. I got my 8x10. I started doing extra work. I worked on American Gangster as an extra. Worked on My Naked Brothers Band, which was a Nickelodeon television show at the time with Nat Wolff and Alex Wolff and Polly Draper.
Yeah.
And then I started taking classes. I started studying at Jason Bennett's acting school in the Village. And then I started taking media and drama classes at Queens College because that's where I was going to school, at the time. And I end up graduating with an interdisciplinary major, I think in 2008, in drama and economics. And then over the years, I noticed that I had a knack for business, and I started learning producing. And I met this amazing actress named Starletta Dupois, who had done a lot of theater, film, and TV. And she was being typecast a lot. And she's like, Ramfis, I'm tired of being typecast. I want to break out of these roles. I know everyone in Black Hollywood. Like, I've worked with Denzel, I know Sam Jackson, like, let's put something dope together. And I'll just reach out to all my friends. So what happens next is she gets cast in this movie called First Sunday. Yeah, First Sunday. And I went to that premiere. It was my first red carpet LA premiere, and I met the entire cast, and I met a lot of the filmmakers in it. At the after party, I had the chance to sit down with Singleton, Tim Story, the head of the studio at the time, this guy named Clint Culpepper. It was Screen Gems was the name of the studio that made the movie. And people were really receptive to me as a filmmaker producer, not as an actor. No one cared that I was an actor. And I'm like, all right, let me run with this card. So I went back to New York and I just started making stuff with my business partner at the time. He would direct, I would produce. We did 3 shorts, and the third short we brought to the short film corner at the Cannes Film Festival. And we were able to sell that short and get a distribution deal. And this was back in 2012. So 13 years ago. Until this day, I'm still getting like residual checks, from that, which is insane.
Amazing.
So, and that's what broke me into features. And in the beginning, I was making films about people that looked like me. And then I started, supporting a lot of female filmmakers because they were having the same challenges that I was having. And then I noticed a lot of my queer colleagues having the same problems and issues, and I started making queer cinema. And that's basically what defined my brand, women, people of color, and the queer, community.
So you just started making a place for yourself. You started creating your own stuff. You obviously were making contacts and meeting people along the way, but it's not like people are saying, hey, Ramfis, here's money. Go and make your stuff. Or, hey, Ramfis, let me make your dreams come true. We know that doesn't happen to 99% of us, but you're making connections and you're meeting people who are validating your passions or validating your skills, but you still have to go and create the work, right?
100%.
So can you talk a little bit about how you're funding all that stuff? And I mean, you just came off of Sundance, so, and it's been a little over 10 years, but were you doing like a lot of low budget stuff? Were you doing crowd funding things? How did you start making this work and bringing it to life financially?
That's a very good question, Tony. Out of the box, not going through the front door, like going through the side door, the back door. Like I got involved in a show, which you won't find online. It was the only thing I've done in TV. It's called What's Cooking in Real Estate, where you cook to a meal, toast to a deal. And the idea was that we got real estate moguls that were willing to come on camera, and they did it for no cost because, like a lot of times real estate is like boring and dry, and, and these people were able to get and leverage the fact that would get them, PR and buzz and notoriety, and they came on and did the show. So at the same time, we leveraged, I want to say, in studio or kitchens that were selling, to like, I guess, regular consumers, and it was a great way for them to market. So we told them that we'll bring these A-list like real estate people, and they gave us the locations for free. And the idea of the show is like the real estate deals that they've done, deals that they're doing, and deals that they're looking to make. So they're cooking with a celebrity chef. The reality is that we're gonna have food left over. And people want to get in front of these real estate moguls. So what we did was that we had an in-studio audience, but then we charged the audience to attend. I think it was like $100 a person.
What?
We had a lot of people.
Wow.
And that's what funded the production. That's what paid for the crew, paid for the gear, the equipment, and paid our salaries. So it was a win-win for everybody because we got funded and got to make what we needed to make. And then people got to meet people that they couldn't get access to, and they got fed, So And because of the success of that show, one of the real estate moguls that was on the show, him and I got really close. And he's like, hey, Ramfis, anytime you're shooting and you need like my Bugatti or my Ghost or, you know, my Manson, you know, it's yours, you know. So I'd use his vehicles and homes for my music video shoots or commercials or other short films I was doing. And then later on, he became one of my investors, you know, and that was building a relationship.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean out of the box. I found ways to still make production without having to use crowdfunding or even having to raise money from investors, which I've done both, you know, but you just have to think out of the box to get things made and done.
Yeah. Yeah. There are too many people who will face one obstacle and see, oh, this is too hard, and they're out. Or there are people who will experience one or two and go, okay, this is normal. And then they get their third and their fourth and like, I am out. But you really have to be prepared to meet every single obstacle when bringing creative work. I sometimes like laugh. It's like, it's comical how many things go wrong when you're trying to bring something to life. At least that's been my experience. It just feels like, you know, permitting and funding and casting. I will literally have people sometimes just not show up, and we've cast them, and it's a payroll. Like, you just can't make up some of the challenges, but it really is. I think the secret to this industry is perseverance. It's like eventually you will find yourself being able to live off of this work. You'll eventually find yourself having some sort of sustainability if you just keep going. But when you're starting out, and maybe for 10 or 20 years of the starting out, you just got to keep going. You got to find those relationships, find those people, and whatever sliding back door you can sneak into, you do. So that's really, really inspiring. So you're also sounds like you're monetizing, from what I see, your educational part of, like, you're helping other people be able to do what you do by teaching, which is really, really smart. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. Again, out of the box. When I first got into the business as an actor, I didn't go to film school. You know, I didn't have proper training. So, like, how am I going to learn? How am I going to, you know, get over, you know, and really stick out? And what I would do is just like really study and memorize things. You know, I felt like as an actor, I had to memorize lines. So let me memorize the business. So I'd say probably the first year I was in the business, I was just on regular IMDb, and I became very, like, you know, used to it. It became like my Bible. And then the following year, maybe I got IMDb Pro, and I'll just memorize things. So I remember going down the rabbit hole one time, and I found this filmmaker that did a film in Long Island. And I'm like, oh my God, well, I'm in Long Island. This filmmaker shot this film in Long Island. I played at a Long Island Film Festival. Let me reach out. So I found him. And I don't know if you remember the yellow pages and the white pages.
Sure.
I went through, I think, the yellow pages. And I found his number. And I called him. I'm like, hey, you know, I'm looking for Michael. And he's like, this is Michael. Who is this? I'm like, hey, this is Ramfis Myrthil. I'm an actor in Long Island. You know, I've been following you, and I saw your film played at this festival. It did really well. I'd love to build a relationship with you. He's like, wait, how'd you get my number? And I told him. He's like, this is very strange and odd, but I'm going to entertain this. So, and that's how I developed the relationship with Michael. And that was like in 2007 or 6, very early in my career. I was very green, doing things that I don't know if I would still do now, but it definitely worked. And Michael later on went to go work at Five Towns College. And then in 2021, he was bumped up to the chair of the entire department. And he reached out to me and said, hey, you know, I want to bring you in, you know, because I love the way that you think out of the box. And we need some fresh blood and perspective. And he basically hired me just like that.
Wow.
I did an interview. I didn't have to submit anything. I mean, I had to fill out some paperwork, and that's what broke me into teaching. I started teaching at Five Towns College, teaching Producing 1, Intro to Producing. And then we created a course for myself called Advanced Producing, Producing 2. So I did that for a few years. And the chair at Hofstra University, him and I are very, chummy. And he said, hey, I hear that they're looking for a professor at Montclair State University. And And I asked him, some questions around. He said, really, I don't know. Just talk to my contact. And I got on the phone and, and it just worked out in terms of time, availability. And I started teaching at Montclair State University. Same deal, no interview, no nothing. And, so I've taught at a couple of film schools just based off, relationships and being on people's radar and being able to connect with the youth and give them the skill sets that I used. I am super old school where I write everything down. Funny, last night I was at an event for South by Southwest here in New York City, and I ran into someone I met in 2007, and I was telling the other people around her, like, oh my God, like, I'm a big fan of her. I've known her since then. And I literally pulled up her name, and I had the notes written in, from 2007 that is saved, I guess, from phone to phone, where we met, what time we met, what we talked about. It even had a note about her being a little tipsy. And she was like, I'm definitely not tipsy, which was hilarious. But, like, I have gone through that process with every contact that's in my phone. I manually written it down, and I also wrote it down electronically where it stores in my phone. So things like that have made me stuck out when I thought it was the normal thing to do. And I think that's also landed me like amazing opportunities to be able to teach and work at places like the Sundance Film Institute and the British Film Institute and the Indian government, kind of like all over the world. Like I teach all around the world, whether it's workshops, seminars, master classes, and then at the college and university level.
It's great. Well, if you're just joining in, this is episode 283. I'm talking with filmmaker, producer Ramfis Myrthil. Just came out of Sundance 10 days ago with a feature film called Ricky. Let's talk about that. If you're watching live on any of our spots, feel free to chime in, ask questions. I see you all in the comments. So first of all, having a feature film at Sundance, there's so many different, ways to do that, to get in. It's not easy. It's a 1 to 2% chance with all the submissions, but you've gone through the funnels in the labs. You had a short there that then became a feature. Talk about your entrance into the Sundance world, because we all dream of being there, and you got it. So congratulations.
Thank you, Tony. Yeah, this was actually my third Sundance. I first got there in 2018 with a film I was a part of called A Boy, a Girl, a Dream.
Oh my gosh, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, it stars Mark Hardwick and Megan Good and Jay Ellis, and Qasim Bashir was the writer, director of that film.
I know Qasim. Yeah, that's great.
And he actually has a film that'll be premiering at South by Southwest.
I saw that. Yeah.
So he's a really dear homie. I mean, it all starts when I was working out of Qasim was living in Harlem. He had gone through several assistants on his first movie, and we connected on freaking Craigslist. And I'm like, dude, I'm hardworking. I'll show up. He's like, and he's had such a bad taste in his mouth. So he's like, I didn't think he's going to work out, But yeah, I'd be in his apartment in Harlem 3 to 5 days a week, just working with him, whatever he needed done. I was like his right hand, and I got involved after the film was done. This was a film called Muslim. So I helped him with marketing, out of the box thinking. And anytime he had a screening or premiere, I'd go with him. And, long story short, his third film, A Boy, a Girl, Dream, I got involved with him and worked with him on that. And going to Sundance that year, I met a lot of the programmers. I met a lot of the people behind the scenes, and I developed a really good relationship with Sundance. So I stayed in touch with the people at Sundance. So when we submitted Ricky in 22 to Sundance, I had wrote a personal email, to Mike Plant, who's a senior programmer, at Sundance. And I basically told him, what the film is, what the film is about, the organization that supported the film, because that shows that, you have industry support. I included the tracking number of the submission, and I also included the Vimeo link so you can have it right there and watch it. And he responded back right away, maybe a couple days later, and just said, hey, I got it. Thank you really appreciated. And then every member on the team, like Simon Tafiq, who's also a producer on the short and the feature, he's taught at Sundance as well, and he had relationships at Sundance, so he reached out to the people that he knew as well to put it on their radar. That way, like we know that, someone's definitely saw the film, and at that point it's completely up to them if like they creatively like vibe with it and if it makes sense. So Ricky the short got in, and then at the same time, Rasad and Lin Q had co-wrote the feature version of Ricky, which was invited to the Sundance Writers Lab. And we found out like a few weeks later that it got in. So when we were at Sundance, January 2023, we had the short, in competition. And then we had, the feature script and, going into the lab, and
amazing.
They invited Pierre Coleman, Pierre has been Rasad's producer on everything that he's done. He's been his go-to guy. He was the point producer on the feature version of Ricky. And Pierre was invited to apply for the Producers Lab, which he got in, and he was able to complete. He was in there for about a year. And then Rasad also got invited to the Directors Lab, So our project was 3 of 3 in terms of writer, producer, and Directors Lab. We had an amazing support from Michelle Satter over at Sundance, Michelle and her kindness and generosity to Rasad and our project. So all these things like lined up and helped stack the project, absolutely.
It is what a commitment and a long road. Again, going back to that whole perseverance thing, you're making stuff, you're making good stuff, but then you're also doing the networking, relationship building stuff. People, we talk about this a lot. If you are just making films, that's one thing, which is a lot of work. But then you also have to be promoting it and networking and getting it to the right people and talking it up. And that sometimes is what gets you head and shoulders above the rest. So the fact that you sent an email to one of the programmers and got a response, that's huge, because they're getting, again, thousands and thousands of these requests. So can you talk a little bit about, your role as producer, Rasad directing, and what were you specifically doing on this project, and how were you collaborating with your fellow teammates on the film?
Yeah, so on Ricky the short, when I first got involved, we gave a lot of my team, and I have a team in New York, LA, and now also in Mumbai. My team and I had read through the script. We gave a lot of constructive feedback, and I want to say that the short went through at least 36 rewrites at minimum, probably a lot more.
Wow.
And then we were also, supporting in terms of funding. So I have an amazing business partner. His name is AJ Leone. He's at a company called Misfit Entertainment. And AJ, myself, and our friend and colleague James Cole, we had started a grant called the Hyphen Grant, which basically supports West Indian Caribbean filmmakers. So I'm from the island of Haiti. My business partner is from Cuba. And with Rasad specifically, he's from the Virgin Islands. So, the character of Ricky also is West Indian as well. And, it fit the mandate, that we were basically running. So we were able to provide a substantial amount of funding, as well. So, in terms of the short, I was involved, with script. I was involved with funding. I was involved, pre-production, production, and then helped with the marketing and festival submissions, and then everything following through after that. And then, with the Oscar run that we had with Ricky the short. Now, in terms of the feature, at that point, Cary Fukunaga had come on to the short as well. He was Rasad's, mentor. So on the feature level, Cary was very involved with the script notes. So the team and I were not really giving as much notes. We'd read the drafts and, give our thoughts, but Cary, basically, and this is Cary Fukunaga, Cary basically, took lead, on that. In terms of the production, like we were aiming to go into production summer of 23, but due to the strikes, things were pushed. So Simon, Pierre, and I were on, calls, over that time, and we were looking for the funding. So one of the key roles that I was, working on was, like finding financiers, bringing financiers to the table to talk to, because we had received most of the funding through WME. WME, lined up, actually all of the funding, for us, but initially they had lined up the initial funding, and we were out there, hustling, looking for the other gaps. So, just being like kind of that filler in between, like I helped, crew up, like Ricky, the feature was much bigger than the short. So I brought in a lot of, I want to say, department heads that we could potentially hire, for Ricky. So in terms of crew, and then just being there, for prep and for production, like being there on set, and just being eyes and ears for whatever we needed, support. There were a lot of challenges because we went into production in July, July of last
July of 2024.
Yeah.
No way. What?
Basically in a month. And
wow.
And then we were editing while we were shooting, and then we went into post. So it was a lot of moving parts. And we're a decent sized producing team, but we had a lot of locations, a lot of crew, big cast. And like anytime you make a movie, there's things that come up, unexpected things. So like I was just there to support, the team with whatever they needed, in terms of like what Pierre needed support with, what Simon needed support with. We all had different, I want to say, lanes, in the project, and just making sure that we finished on time, within budget, and that everybody was cool, so.
You all who are listening and are watching live or on the replay don't know how miraculous that is to be actually filming in production of July 2024 and debuting and premiering January of 2025. That is an incredibly quick turnover for a feature film. So the fact that you all pulled that off is mind-boggling to me. I assume too that because you had gone through the lab and you had these kind of placements and connections within Sundance, that there was some hope and expectation from Sundance that it would be ready to go by 2025, because I think their deadline ends in September maybe, and they let people know in November, right? So even that is a tight turnaround. So the fact that you all made it is really, really huge. People are in the comments talking about WME lining up funding. Do you want to speak to that at all?
Yeah, so pretty much what happened is that Rashad Fret was signed by WME. He has an amazing agent named Craig Castell, who represents, like Deez Rees, Kerry Fukunaga, and Ronaldo Green, and, like the best of the best, Ryan Coogler. So what ended up happening was that because the short had done incredibly well, everyone was asking, like, what about the feature? So I want to say specifically it was more Craig. I want to give him the proper, shout out, because it was more him than the agency. Craig is just an amazing person, an amazing agent, and he's friends with the entire community. Like, he's been around for decades, like, I mean, at least 20 years, maybe even longer than that, and he set up meetings for Rashad to meet different people, different studios, and also the producing team. We jumped on a couple of calls with Rashad, and it would be like a meet and greet, and then you would just see if it's a proper fit. Is it something that is a fit for the Ricky team? Is it fit, financially? So I want to say that Craig just put us in the room. He didn't actually say, all right, hey, you guys have to cut a check, but he aligned people that were on the vibe of the film, on the vibe of Rashad, because Rashad is very particular in terms of, the vibe. Like, he wants to work with people that are kind, good energy. He doesn't want to have his vision compromised. He was like, this is the movie I want to make. This is the story I want to tell. I don't want to have to change things, So with, like a little bit of compromising, but not in the sense of like, not being workable, but at the same time, this is the story that he wants to tell. So WME is a huge talent agency, William Morris Endeavor, and Craig Castell is one of the top agents in the business that's been around for a long time. So, so that's how that kind of worked out.
Well, kudos to Rashad as well, because he won the directing award at Sundance. So being a visionary is what it takes to direct a film. You have to have that vision, and it obviously paid off for the fact that he had a feature film at Sundance and he won the award, was recognized by the jury. That is pretty huge. We have a question from Chris K on Instagram saying, how did you know the short was meant to be a feature? What were some of the signs that you knew that had to be made into a longer story?
Well, the idea is that when we initially met and we talked about it, Rasad has been wanting to do a feature for a while. He had done several shorts that have done really well, and he wanted to make a longer version of the story about the community. So we knew there was going to be a feature made. We just didn't know to like what context. And him and Lin Q, Lin Q's the co-writer on Ricky. Him and Lin Q went to NYU together. They were classmates, and the plan was for them to always write it together. So once we had finished everything on the short, that's when Lin Q and Rasad, started like really putting pen to pad and jamming out, on their sessions. So we always knew it was something that we wanted to do up front, even before I started working on the short. Like I knew the plan was to always make the feature.
Yeah, and that's great. So some people definitely have the desire to make a feature, and the first step for some, not everybody, there's no right way to do it. For some is like, hey, let's make a short. Let's create this as a way to showcase what we can do, the storytelling, the acting, that kind of thing. Now, what I find interesting for you all, and this happens a lot, I've noticed, is the short had different actors than the feature. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so with the short, if you notice, like, Paris, he killed the role, of Ricky in the short. That's him right there on the screen. He was actually still in the feature. He didn't play the role of Ricky, so he took a smaller role. And basically, it was a compromise, I think, creatively and financially, with the backers. They wanted a household name, and we had brought on A.V. Kaufman, and A.V., sent several names to Rasad and the team to look over. So the financier had to approve it. And if they approved it, then, Rasad would meet with them and just see like if they work well with him and he works well with them. And that's how things happen with Stephen James. That's how he came on board. And the cool thing about it is with Stephen James is that he's from the Caribbean as well, So a lot of the cast and crew were from the Caribbean. Malik, that's in the film that plays James in the short, came back to the feature as well. Simbi and Karen that were both in the short also were on the feature. So I want to say everyone in the short, for the most part came back. Like maybe some of like the extras or under fives didn't come back. But all of the main cast, came back, and then we built more characters in the feature version. So that's why you see, faces you didn't see in the short.
Like Cheryl Lee Ralph. Hello. So cool. Yeah, that's great. So those of you who are watching, we got about 5 or 6 minutes here before I wrap up, because Ramfis is doing another thing in about 20 minutes, a webinar that I'm going to be attending, which is kind of fun, about team building and stuff. But you have to think strategically when you're making a feature about whose name and whose credit will draw finances, who will draw not only the financing for the funding, but also on the other side to want to watch the film, to attract people to get their butts in those seats and buy tickets and stuff. So that's something you have to think about, which can be challenging when you make a short that is becoming a feature, because sometimes, if I play a lead role in a short that gets some traction, I'm not probably going to get the people in the feature to be able to put that money down. So it really is an interesting gamble that you have to play around with. Stacy, who watched virtually, said she loved Cheryl Lee Ralph in the film. Yes, agree, Stacy. So I guess remaining few minutes here, Ramfis, what is next with this film particularly? Where is it going? Where is it screening next? And how are you all? Was there a purchase at Sundance? Talk about what's next for Ricky.
Yeah, so what ended up happening is because WME was very involved and helped us along the way. They came on to represent the film. They're representing it domestically. So at our premiere, which was sold out, there were a lot of buyers that attended, all types of buyers, streamers and, theatrical, buyers. So WME basically told us, all right, guys, well, enjoy, the premiere, all the hard work that you guys have done. We'll handle all the business. And then Josh Peters, big shout out to Josh Peters, DC Wade, and Sterling Brim. We're very involved on the business side and the funding side of things. So they're like overseeing everything in terms of that with WME. So right now, WME has been talking to buyers and fielding offers, and, we'll find out soon, you know. But we know a lot of buyers came and took interest. So the plan is to make the best decision, you know, for the producing team and for Rashad and for the best home, you know, for Ricky in terms of that. In terms of film festivals, nothing has been announced yet, but we're talking to several festivals about playing it in the coming months. So
Cool.
we play like a few more festivals, and then depending on our deal with the buyer, then we'll know if we're going to keep playing more festivals or not.
Well, I got to meet your producer Simon at the PGA event. Also, I met Josh at one of the screenings at Sundance, and definitely extended to all of you all to come to Brave Maker in July. So I'll extend that to you as well. I think what I really saw at one of the screenings was a huge desire for people to talk after the film. And at Sundance, they give you about 10, maybe 15 minutes, but it's short and you're standing up and it's like, you got to go because they have another film coming up quickly and they have to clear the theater. That's why at Brave Maker, we created space, sit in a chair, talk and dialogue. And then we also bring in partners to talk about what the film is doing in regards to the messaging and the issues. Just like last year, we had Daughters, who also premiered and won awards at Sundance, had a very important and meaningful incarceration and criminal justice story emphasis, just like yours does. I think your film creates a lot of dialogue, and that is really, really cool. So congratulations on that, and hope we get to partner with you all in the future and see some really cool things happening. But yeah, we're very stoked to have you on the show today, Ramfis, and to be connected. Our friend, producer, and board of directors member, Stacey McClam, got us connected to you. Fun to meet you in person. We met at the United Party in person. And you definitely, you sucked every piece of energy out of the Sundance Film Festival in the best way possible. I saw you bouncing around everywhere. It was really great to see you enjoying the high life in Park City. I love it too. It's like the best way to start my year. So final thoughts before we do our Brave Fave, which was like our kind of our lightning round. Is there anything you want to say to those who are out there wanting to tell their story and get their film made as they face obstacles? What would you say to them that you haven't already said?
Yeah, I'd say that one of the things that's really important is make sure you have a really great team. I think that was a big piece of it. There are blind spots that everyone had, you know, that Rashad had, that Pierre had, that I had, that Simon had. And as a team, we really covered each other, you know, from short to feature, and then building even a stronger team. So, you know, filmmaking is a collaborative business. And I just think finding the people that align right for you, that have integrity, that you can trust, that are hardworking, that are kind, you know, that's a big piece of the show business. Besides having a great script and everything that you know you're supposed to do, is having a great team that will help you go the distance. And I know that helped us a lot. It's helped me a lot. It's helped Rashad a lot. Like just having the right people in our corner.
Get the right people and cut out the wrong ones, everybody. It's easy when you get those gut checks and those red flags to separate, because it will only bite you in the butt. And I'll just announce today, we are partnering with a mediation company that is working specifically with creatives who are experiencing problems on their team. If you are finding yourself at odds with somebody because of financial or creative obstacles and don't know how to move forward, contact us at Brave Maker, because we have some connections and some free services to help you. All right, let's do our Brave Faves.
Brave Faves. TV shows, films, books, songs, technology, clothing, podcast, food, and more. These are a few of our favorite people, places, and things. Brave Faves.
Okay, I am a huge horror fan, and I love all things horror and genre and all that kind of fun stuff. And I just saw yesterday the new film called Companion. It was super, super fun. A cool, fun take on AI stuff. Sophie Thatcher, Jack Quaid, a bunch of other cool people. Lucas Gage, Henry. What's this I was saying? Guillermo Henry, I forget how you say his last name. He's in What We Do in the Shadows, but I really liked this movie. It was fun, well written, kind of cool, little twisty, turny thing. So if you like genre, you like horror, this one is for you. It's called Companion. What's your favorite thing of the week, Ramfis?
Favorite film of the week or
favorite thing? Could be anything.
Well, one of the things I love to do is every Sunday I go to Genius, which is ran by Jay Shetty. He's a spiritual influencer that's into health and wellness and vitality. And I go and join the community where we meditate for maybe 15, 20 minutes. And then we tackle, something that we're all dealing with. He has a subject every month, a different theme, and we tackle that. And the fourth week, we usually do a Q&A. So it's been very helpful in my life doing that every week.
Is that all virtual or in person?
That's all virtual.
Cool. Yeah, Jay Shetty, you can follow him and find him. He's got a podcast on all sort of thing, but right on. It's called Genius. Cool. Well, thanks, Ramfis, for being a part of the show today. People are asking, where can you watch the film? And you can't watch it until it's out. It's still doing the festival circuit. So be on the lookout for Ricky. And Ramfis, where can people follow you to stay connected to you for the future?
I'm on Instagram. It's my name at Ramfis Myrthil Official. And I'm on LinkedIn. It's Ramfis Myrthil. Those are the two that I use the most.
Awesome. All right. Well, he's also doing something coming up. I will be at South by Southwest. And so will Ramfis. If you want to connect with Ramfis, you can find out more about all the things that he's doing. In fact, he's jumping to a webinar right now. Ramfis, is there still ways for somebody to connect to what you're doing right now in 15 minutes?
Can you share the link? Do you have it by chance?
For the thing that's happening right now, I probably could dig it up. I'm going to put in the chat the thing you're doing at South by Southwest. There's a link in the chat right now. If you're watching us live, you can find out how South by Southwest stuff is happening. But let me see while I do my remaining comments, if you are interested to join the webinar, because it is free. It's an hour-and-a-half webinar. Why don't you talk about it, Ramfis?
Yeah,
and then
sure.
I'm
really good friends with Mara McCann. She is an expert, filmmaker, and her and I have collabed for several years. So we're doing a free webinar about investor meetups, how to get financing, how to find investors. And we're going to have investors over the next several months meeting up with filmmakers and talking about their financial models, how they invest and how they connect with filmmakers and all of that. So I'll be speaking about how I build teams, on the film side to get funding and all things around that. So it'll be about an hour and a half, an hour, I think, of just talking and 30 minutes of like Q&A. Give or take. So, and it'll be Mara and myself, and I'll be starting at what time? I think 1 o'clock. I don't even know.
Yeah. Well, is it? So it's 11 o'clock Pacific time. So 15 minutes from now, live, which would be 2 o'clock Eastern time, right? Is that right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if you are interested to be a part of that, I just put the link. You can register and join. It's in the chat. So go ahead and do that and see Ramfis in about 15 minutes. Thank you, Ramfis, for being a part of today. Really appreciate it. I'll let you go so you can go get prepared, and I'll do my final comments. But thanks, man. We'll see you around.
All right. Thank you for having me, Tony.
You got it.
So
you got it. Take care. Everybody else, thank you so much for watching. Let me encourage you. We are a nonprofit film organization. We have about 50, I think we have 53 people now who are supporting us every month. And actually, we went down from 2024. People rebudgeting, I get it. But we're not going to be able to keep doing this work unless we get more sponsorships. The grants and all the federal funding is very challenging right now. And I'm looking for other jobs, to be quite frank. I'm trying to apply for other places because I can only teach so many classes without burning myself out. But if you believe in me and this work at Bravemaker, support us. Go to bravemaker.com/donate to become a one-time or a monthly donor. You can also text the word Bravemaker, beep, boop, 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 to 44321. That's one word, Bravemaker, to 44321. And y'all, we have a slew of things coming up. Like we're doing First Thursday Mixer. So that's tonight, February 6th in Redwood City. At Ghostwood, we have a screenwriting intensive with Justin Lee from the Spider-Verse movies. He works with Lord Miller, coming up on March 1st on Saturday. These are all at bravemaker.com/events. And we're doing a first ever comedy and variety show to raise money for our 7th annual film festival. If you believe in this work, you got to come. Please support, get out there, spread the word. Charities like ours, the arts, are really being threatened right now, especially anyone that uses the word diversity, equity, and inclusion. This is now becoming a threat in many areas. I don't get it. We just want to tell good stories. We want everybody to be included and welcomed and affirmed for who they are. And we should be making way for a bigger table for everybody to come and be a part. That's what Brave Maker is about. So thanks for watching today and or listening on the replay or on the podcast. Like, subscribe, rate, share, y'all. This goes a long way when you share. All right, that's it. Thanks so much. This is episode 283. Come back next week. We'll have another cool creator talking about how they're making it. I hope you are making your stuff too. Brave stories change the world, and you are the story. Bye.
Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook at bravemaker.org. Like, subscribe, and share. To become a monthly donor, text the word BRAVEMAKER to 44321 or go to bravemaker.com/donate. Thanks for tuning in.